severe weather update. It is 7:46 on June the 14th, Wednesday evening, and we are tracking some severe weather that is moving through the low country of South Carolina. In fact, a tornado warning has just been issued for portions of Jasper County. This includes Hardeeville. This tornado warning you can see here on the polygon is in effect until 8 o'clock tonight. And you can kind of see the circulation not as well defined as it was a little bit earlier back over Georgia, but this is still moving into Hardeeville and portions of Jasper County here along, let's see, I think that's Highway 321 as well as Interstate 95. So those are some of kind of the crossroads that are under this polygon right now. This potential severe thunderstorm is moving to the east at 45 miles per hour. And again, a tornado warning has been issued. And we're watching this area of circulation that looks to move just north of Hardeeville. Here's Hardeeville. You can see where my cursor is at. You can see some lightning, which tells us that the storm is continuing to strengthen as it moves here into the low country of South Carolina. And again, this tornado warning out for Jasper County until 8 p.m. And the potential for a tornado is possible with this storm. In fact, a weather spotter confirmed a tornado at 7:45. This is just new, just come in just a second ago, confirmed tornado along Highway 21 near Rikon. So Rikon was right here. I'm circling it here with my cursor. So the rotation is starting to move into the northern portions of Hardeeville. So if you're in Hardeeville, you definitely want to seek shelter in your storm location. That's preferably the lowest floor of your home. If you have a basement, that's the great place to be. But if not, you want to be at the lowest floor and most interior part. That's a closet, a bathroom, a pantry, something that's keeping you away from the outside. So you want to put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. You also want to have some sort of protection on your head and your eyes. That way, if there is any flying debris, that your head and eyes are protected from that. But again, we are watching this circulation. This was a confirmed tornado over Rikon just about 2 or 3 minutes ago. Weather spotter reporting that this is going to be moving into South Carolina right now. And again, our rotation right in this area, this crossroad here, Highway 34. We're looking at Harbor Drive down into, let's see, Honey Hill Road. Just trying to look at some of these area roadways here to kind of give you just a preference of where this rotation is located. So again, Honey Hill Road, Highway 34, just north of Hardeeville. Here's Hardeeville right here. You can see this is Interstate 95 that's just moving through. So if you know anyone traveling out of the Georgia area near Savannah north into portions of the lower portions of South Carolina into the low country, you definitely want to make sure that they are aware of this. But again, rotation and confirmed tornado was reported there, and I think I may have missed
Scotty.
Yeah,
I thought for a moment we maybe even had the funnel on the DOT camera here. I don't know if that was a lightning strike or something that paused in the sky. It would have been center screen just off to the left. It's gone now. It may have just been lightning, but because it was prolonged on the camera, I unmuted myself here from the control room to point it out. I don't see it now, but the same way that truck is seemingly paused, I bet you that's what it was. So I apologize. I just saw something vertical in the sky kind of stuck, and I think it's just that the camera is buffering.
Gotcha. And I apologize. Rincon is the way you pronounce that town instead of Rikon. So Rincon, that is where we saw the confirmed tornado just moments ago from a storm spotter. And this is a confirmed tornado. So kind of an elevated tornado warning here, where sometimes we're just talking about Doppler radar indicated. This has actually been confirmed. So this is moving into the Hardeeville area again. So you definitely want to be inside most interior part. Some other locations: Port Wentworth, Hardeeville, Perrysburg, I believe is how you pronounce that, Ebenezer, and Stillwell. This warning also includes the mile markers on Interstate 95 between mile marker 2 and 15 there in South Carolina. So if you're traveling on Interstate 95, especially out of the Savannah area, or even coming through from the north. If you are approaching or know someone approaching mile markers 2 through 15, this warning really encompasses that area on Interstate 95. So you definitely want to be off the roadways and preferably into a safe spot, maybe a store or something like that. You definitely do not want to be in a car with a tornado approaching. So portions along the coast here, Hilton Head, you are okay right now. So is Beaufort and Ridgeland. But we're really just focusing on this southern portion of South Carolina here near the Hardyville area. And again, this looks like the rotation's going just north of the downtown area of Hardyville. So if you live near, and again, I'm trying to look up some of these roads here on my radar. I know you can't see them, but I can. We got Stenley Funeral Home Road, Portobello Drive. There's Highway 17, White Hardy Boulevard, as well. Looking at some other road locations here. And James is monitoring Interstate 95 here at mile marker 8 here in South Carolina. And this tornado warning has now been extended to include portions of Hilton Head, Port Royal, just outside of Beaufort, not technically in Beaufort, but just outside of the area. So the National Weather Service there in Charleston is continuing this tornado warning and has expanded it almost to the coast now. So if you are in Hilton Head or know someone vacationing there, I know it's summertime, popular destination to vacation. This area now is under a tornado warning. So this is also for Beaufort County. And again, this warning will go until 8:15. So these are kind of short fuse warnings. This storm's moving pretty quickly to the east, around 45 miles per hour. Confirmed tornado located near Parrisburg. And again, this is a damaging tornado with this storm. And again, some locations in this: Bluffton, Hilton Head Island, Beaufort, Port Royal, Jasper, Hardyville, Lemon Island, Rose Hill, Sun City, Perrysburg, Shell Point, Burton, Kalawasi Island, Laurel Bay, and Parris Island. This warning includes portions of Interstate 95 between mile markers 6 and 17. So we do have this DOT camera on mile marker 8, which would be included in this tornado warning. So where do you go? You definitely want to be in the lowest level of your home. I know not a lot of homes in this area probably don't have a basement, but you want to be in the lowest level. So if you have a basement, great. If not, lowest level, put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. That could be a pantry, a closet, a bathroom. You definitely just want to put yourself as many walls between you and the outside. And we're looking at this camera, and James, maybe we can get this camera a little bit, enlarged here. Really starting to see the heart of this storm move over this area. You see a few cars. It looks like they're, I don't know if the camera's stuck or if they're actually on the side of the road. Okay, I think it was just the camera had froze there. But a few cars there, definitely slowing down with the four-way flashers on. This is going to be moving over this area pretty quickly now. And on radar, we still got a decent rotation sign moving over Interstate 95 in Hardyville right now. So you definitely want to take this serious, and you definitely want to be off the road, preferably in a safe shelter, a safe built structure. You don't want to ride this out on the roadway, but it looks like the wind is definitely picking up. The rain is picking up in intensity. So definitely a pretty stormy look. Here's another look. It looks like we're in the middle of this. This is exit 5.
Yeah, this is closer to downtown. That other camera was exit 8. This is camera 5. It actually just went through a power flash and is rebooting because of the power hits that it is taking as associated with this thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado right now, Scotty.
Yeah, so these are some damaging winds. Just remember, you may technically not get hit by a tornado, but with the winds that we're seeing here on this camera, they definitely can do damage. So, damaging winds outside of the tornado threat is definitely a possibility here. So you definitely want to take this serious. So if you are living in Beaufort, Port Royal, Hilton Head Island, if you're on Highway 46 heading out to Hilton Head Island, this is what's coming your way. So you definitely want to be in that safe place. Bluffton, another area, you definitely want to be in this safe place. You definitely want to see, hey, this is happening just up the road here. So definitely seeing some effects of this storm here. I'm going to zoom out here. I'm going to put the reflectivity on so you can kind of see what's going on here. So this is the storm that we're looking at, and this is going to be rain wrapped. You can see that it's really a messy look on reflectivity. This is basically showing us the precipitation that's falling. So it's really messy looking. You don't really see any dry slots. It's going to be rain wrapped. You're not going to potentially visually see those big tornadoes that you may see out in the Midwest, but this is definitely produced a tornado, as we got confirmation from a storm spotter back over Georgia about 7:45, so about 11 minutes ago, and this is
Scotty, I
quickly
just
moving.
wanted to confirm that the DOT cameras at exit 5 and 8 are both offline right now, presumably without power. So the nearest camera we have is exit 22, but whatever is happening right there at exits, 5 and 8, which I think is the turnoff for US 278, right in the heart of that rotation, we have no contact for visibility right now.
Yep. So right here is here's Interstate 95. You can kind of see my mouse, hopefully. Here's 95, and here's 278. So there's that turnoff through Bluffton and then into Hilton Head. That's where you can see really the heaviest precipitation. And if we can go over to the wind, you can kind of see the rotation in here. Look at this. I know you guys can't see this, but we're measuring wind gusts, 50, 60 miles per hour through here. Our rotation, we can put rotation on here. Definitely some rotation over that Interstate 95, 246 or 346. I can't remember. 246?
278.
278. That's it. 278.
278.
Yep. So you can see that the rotation is really over that area right now. So Bluffton, pretty populated area because you pass through there to go to Hilton Head Island. So a lot of vacationers out in this area. You definitely want to be in shelter. You want to be in your safe place. Probably folks out there not paying attention to the weather, enjoying vacation, and definitely a rotating thunderstorm that has produced a tornado back over Georgia is definitely moving here into the low country of South Carolina. James, those cameras I assume are still down.
Yeah, so we have mile marker 4, which is just 4 miles north of the state line and the city of Savannah. This is where the truck stop is. You can see them off to the right-hand side there. The bullseye was right at 5 and 8 are both offline. So then the next available camera we have is 22, where it's dark and stormy. But, right there at exit mile marker 5 and 8 near US 278, we've lost contact.
And so that tells you, we're definitely seeing those damaging winds through here. We can't say right now that that's a tornado, but we do know that this storm has a history of producing a tornado, as we got those reports back over Georgia. So definitely a gusty situation. And I failed to mention this. I know Jared put this in our chat. The tornado watch has been extended into Jasper, Hampton, and Beaufort counties as well. So I don't know if that was a tornado watch or tornado warning now that I'm looking at that. I'll have to look here. Okay, Jared's saying the watch. So we are doing seeing that. So James, I have our guest on the other side for our previously scheduled interview. So I'm going to toss the microphone over to you, and I'll let you finish up with severe weather coverage.
Thank you, Scotty Powell there in Myrtle Beach. I'm James Brierton in Charlotte. We are continuing to watch this tornado-warned cell right now with Effingham County in Georgia and Jasper County in South Carolina remaining under tornado warnings here as we are continuing to track this storm capable of producing a tornado, as Scotty has been telling you about. We'll go ahead and get this back up on radar here as you're just maybe resetting and joining us at 8 o'clock. We are continuing to track this storm as it heads off to the east. This is going to include the northern portions of the Hilton Head Island near Hilton Head Plantation. Parris Island, Port Royal, and Beaufort are all going to be downstream of this potential tornado, which just in the last few moments had the possibility here of crossing over Interstate I-95. As you've been joining us here on the Carolina Weather Group, you probably have spotted that we've been keeping a close eye on DOT traffic cameras. So here is a live look at exit 22, where visibility is really reduced because of this storm. And we will try to check back in with the cameras at interstate mile markers 8 and 5, but those remain offline. We had them as we were watching the cell approach the interstate, but as soon as the storm got right on in here, which is that US 278 turnoff near mile marker 8. We did lose connection with that state-run DOT camera. Whether that was because tornadoes or straight line winds, we don't know. But what we do definitely know is that that camera is unreachable right now, and we'll have to wait to find out exactly what's happening on the interstate there. As we continue to watch, switching our radar over to the velocity mode, we are continuing to watch here the rotation detected by radar, and you can see that is right near that US 278 turnoff, as if you were going to Hilton Head from Interstate 95. If we look at the radar estimates here, we're tracking winds that are at least 50 miles an hour associated with this rotation, and that would be enough, whether this was rotating or not, to certainly cause some damage. We have Jared Smith, as you may know, is CHSWX from Charleston Weather, monitoring in the background, I believe, trying to get to his computer, as well as this will soon be moving into portions of that coastal South Carolina area as we head on through the next little bit. The National Weather Service out of Charleston is the office keeping a close eye on this thunderstorm, which a storm spotter did detect a tornado with as that storm exited out of South Carolina. So the storm is moving off to the east, crossing into portions of South Carolina just within the last half an hour or so. The warning does go officially for another 12 minutes. We'll wait to see if they extend it. They have extended it once, and they could certainly extend it again. This is a confirmed tornado that was on the ground moving east at 45 miles an hour. That, according to a weather spotter who did pick up that tornado. These counties inside this warning do include Beaufort County. We'll get that added to our graphic here, as well as Jasper County in South Carolina. We do still have portions of Effingham County in Georgia as a part of this. Locations do include, once again, Hilton Head Island, Bluffton, Beaufort, Port Royal, Jasper, Hardingville, Lemon Island, Rose Hill, Sun City, Shell Point, Burton, and Parris Island. The warning includes Interstate 95, mile markers 6 through 17, as we saw on the DOT cameras a few moments ago. Thanks to our producer, Jared Smith, getting our graphic updated there on the screen to indicate that we do have this warning that is now moving again off to the east for a confirmed tornado that a weather spotter did spot on the ground not too long ago. And we are continuing to track this storm now as it moves off to the east. You can certainly join along with us in the comment fields of wherever you're watching this Carolina Weather Group live coverage, and let us know what you might be seeing or hearing on the ground if you were in that area. We do also appreciate if you do let anyone know in that area that they can tune into this live coverage. Give them a call, send them a text. You know, we're always preaching that weather radios are a great way for people to know what's going on, and sometimes the best way for them to know is just for have you call them. We are noticing that our weather radar image is a few minutes behind. It's about 7 minutes behind now. So we would expect this rotation to have moved out here a little bit further off to the east of the I-95 corridor. The National Weather Service is, I think, troubleshooting their radar as they are trying to continue to track this storm, which did have a confirmed tornado on the ground at one point. But at this point, it's been a few minutes since that tornado was last spotted. You can see here in this new radar image that we just got, as we're continuing to track the storm. This is a look at the winds. We are now off to the east of Hardingville. So I-95 is officially in the clear from any sort of tornadic damage. But of course, as we saw in the DOT cameras, there are still plenty of heavy rains moving through the areas. If there was a tornado associated with this moving off to the east, this is going to, again, right in Bluffton, Hilton Head Plantation, Port Royal, Parris Island. You want to move right now to your safe place. We always define that as the most interior room inside a sturdy structure. So if you're at the coast and you have a beach structure, you're going to want to try to get indoors, something that is a permanently built structure. You want to put as many walls between you and the outside world as possible. This is probably a part of the country where there's not a lot of basements, but if you can get to the bottom level of a structure, that's the best thing you can do for yourself in a situation like this. We are continuing to track. We have some reports coming in, strong winds continuing to come in near the Thomasville, Georgia area. Appreciate that report, as we are continuing to keep a close eye on this rotation. Taking a look right now back over, looking at reflectivity and the intensity of the rain, you can kind of see the leading edge right now of this heavy rain coming into Bluffton. And you can almost see we got a bit of a curl here. And it's almost like if we put this back into rotation, let me make sure we're not going to get too many frames. 10 sounds fine. I wouldn't be surprised if this is rotating in such a fashion. We almost have like a micro scale little low, right? Where it's spinning around itself. And that's exactly what could be spinning up this rotation as it was coming out of Georgia into South Carolina and across portions of I-95. Taking a look now back at the winds, you can kind of see where we had those strong indications of rotation as it approached the Interstate I-95 and US 278 interchange. That has brightened up a little bit. It's not as well defined, where those bright greens and those bright reds would have been close together as they were near the state line. Jared
James,
Smith on the line with us. Go ahead, Jared.
Yeah, James, can I butt in a little bit? This is sorry. Yeah, this is going to turn into more of a damaging wind threat here. It looks like it already is transitioning that way. Now, that being said, there is another little notch. Just kind of highlighted it down there. We'll see if that does anything, but I also suspect as we get closer to the coast, this is becoming a little bit more elevated, which would reduce the tornado threat, but still damaging winds could be a factor here. We'll see what the Weather Service does with the warning here in a few minutes. Again, this is certainly not as well defined as it was when the weather spotter saw it in Rincon as it was moving east. So with any luck, hopefully we can get rid of this soon. But in the meantime, still let's hang out for a few more minutes.
Sure,
just make
absolutely.
sure that this thing is put to bed.
So what Jared is referring to when he says this is transitioning from a tornadic situation to a straight line wind, either way, it's damaging severe winds. And what Jared's picking up is right here on the velocity on the radar detection. We kind of have this very distinct but continuous border between the reds and the greens. Those are the winds moving towards the radar and away from the radar. Whereas if this whole storm is coming at you like a concise wall, whereas earlier, just 20, 30 minutes ago, we had these areas right here where we kind of had these jetties where we had this bright red and this bright green really close together, right? So the possible rotation right over Hardeeville and our US 278 and I-95 corridor would have been right on in there. But again, we are continuing to track what could be tornadic, if not at least straight line wind damage, with winds in excess of 55 miles an hour, according to radar detection. So whether the Weather Service decides to keep this tornado warning, they're probably going to at least keep a severe thunderstorm warning as we continue to track this storm. One of the reasons they might keep the tornado warning is because of the action stages that puts a lot of people into. But the other thing that Jared was still noting is we do still, along this wall, have a couple of these little inserts where you could still get some very quick spin ups as those winds are kind of coming together. Jared's also pointing out to me on radar. No, please, Jared, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry to jump in here again, but yeah, you can see that there might be a little, these little surges of inbound velocity here. This is right near Bluffton. So again, we still have the tornado warning for a little while longer. We're going to wait and see. Again, the tornado warning goes for about 5 more minutes. But there's a rotation right there. Possibly there could be a new one trying to circulate up. We're seeing a lot of these like just bow echoes is what we're finding here, and that bow echo is a surge of wind basically, and that is a good indicator that damaging wind gusts are possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, the Salty Dog Cafe there, mainstay on the Hilton Head Island side, does have some cameras that they stream on their website.
They have, and they are going to a severe thunderstorm warning now. So we have a new severe thunderstorm warning that includes Chatham, Beaufort, Charleston, Cullinan, and Jasper until 9:15. Let me zoom this a little bit, and I should be getting the polygon up momentarily here.
Yeah.
But James, if you get it first, please take over from me.
Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on it too here, and I see it on our weather chat, and we'll get it on our radar imagery in just a moment. But we're going to continue to stream because while tornado warnings get a lot of people's attention, severe thunderstorm warnings might feel a dime a dozen in the summer. This is a storm that has a history of producing not only tornadoes, but wind damage. And so this could still be a threat to property or life as we are continuing to track these 60-mile-per-hour winds coming into the coastal area from Hilton Head back up to areas that do now include portions of Charleston County. I do have at least one area here on radar estimated 70-mile-per-hour winds, which really does confirm for us this is not your run-of-the-mill severe thunderstorm warning. A severe thunderstorm warning, which requires you to take action to protect yourself, must have winds of at least 60 miles an hour. We are getting winds of at least 70 miles an hour now detected on radar imagery. We're going to continue to keep a close eye on this, despite the fact that they are letting that tornado warning expire. This warning, once it does populate on the screen, and I'm still, there it goes, waiting for it to pop up, you can see does include southern portions of that Charleston County area. So from Folly Beach through Edisto down towards Hilton Head Island, you are all now inside this yellow polygon for a severe thunderstorm warning because, as Jared has been pointing out to us, this is almost less of a tornadic outbreak and more of a wall of wind that is now moving off to the east over the course of the next half an hour or so. And so you're going to want to seek shelter, whether you're at the coast or even if you're offshore, you're going to want to go ahead and seek shelter. If you know somebody might be out on a boat, it's also worth trying to reach them by phone or by radio to let them know that this is coming, because this severe thunderstorm warning does extend out offshore through its more marine warning equivalent, and that is the orange box, because we are anticipating the continuation of damaging winds all throughout this area. So if you were to go from where we currently are in the back end of our warning through that more marine warning, we're talking about 60 miles from left to right here, from west to east, of areas that could be impacted by these severe winds over the course of the next really hour or so.
The tornado warning is expired.
Yeah, so we're going to let that tornado warning come on down. But I think, Jared, I think you would agree too. It's really still in action stage. These are damaging winds. People need to move to shelter.
Absolutely. You don't want to be caught outside in this. And there's a lot of lightning too. I mean, lightning makes every thunderstorm dangerous, right? Don't get caught in this. Just head inside, just away from the windows a little bit, and give it 30 minutes. The good news is that these are moving fairly quickly. Ride it out, and you'll be fine.
Moving fairly quickly, this is going to hopefully stay to the south of the Charleston area, the actual downtown metro area, that is, although this warning does include portions of that county, that Charleston County area. Switching back over, you can see now where some of those heaviest rains are as we're looking back now at reflectivity. We're going to update our graphic on the screen for those of you who are streaming along with us, because we do want to emphasize the fact, wow, that was okay, it's over here. We do want to emphasize the fact that the tornado warning has been allowed to expire, but we are continuing to track a storm that has historically, over the course of the last hour, not only produced a tornado, but also produced damaging winds. And that is the continued threat right now. And the reason we are continuing to track this storm as it comes up to the populated areas of Hilton Head, Parris Island, Beaufort, and Edisto and Folly Beaches. We're still in the middle of the work week. We have the Juneteenth holiday weekend coming up. A lot of people already have 3-day weekends. And in my office alone, I can tell you, as soon as that 5-6 o'clock rolled around today, a lot of people started their extended breaks. We're getting into that summer holiday. People might be taking vacations. They may be heading down to the coast. And so this is another reason why this is a popular vacation spot. And so we are continuing to track this here now with you on the extended network of the Carolina Weather Group at about 8:15. I'm James Brierton in Charlotte. We had Scotty Powell and Myrtle Beach on with us a little earlier. And Jared Smith, who holds down the coast for us out of Charleston, is on with us, continuing to produce and keep a close eye on a lot of what we are seeing here. This is a severe thunderstorm warning. We're going to pop that graphic back up on the screen for you. I know some of our YouTube videos and things are titled exactly how our coverage began, which this began as tornado warning coverage for Effingham County in Georgia and Jasper County in South Carolina. We've now transitioned beyond that, and we are now tracking a severe thunderstorm warning that is in effect for Beaufort, Jasper, Colleton, and Charleston counties until, I think until about 9 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, or about 9:15. This does include, again, those some of those locations are on the screen. I can name a few more here. Tybee Island, also the Wilmington Island area, Fort Pulaski National Monument, Midtown Savannah is actually in part of this warning as it extends far enough south to get back into that downtown Savannah area there in Georgia. So this is a fairly large warning as we are continuing to track this threat of damaging winds. Switching back over now to velocity, you can see some of those areas of strong winds now pushing out through the port of Savannah back out into the open seas. But you're really going to start to feel it if you haven't already here on Hilton Head Island in the next minute. This radar image from 1 minute ago, moving off to the east here. So on Hilton Head, if you're not already feeling it, expect 55-mile-per-hour winds, if not greater. Again, radar imagery is about a few minutes behind. It scans. It takes a 360-degree photo. You've probably done it yourself with your camera. You take it, you got to spin, right? You do those panorama photos, you spin, and then your phone processes that imagery. And that's kind of what radar is as we are continuing to keep an eye on this. So I wouldn't be surprised right now if these strong winds are already on Hilton Head Island. We can also see areas of lightning associated with this, which could be a danger to anyone who's outside. Coming up on the north side of Hilton Head Island here in the next few minutes, radar picking up about 60-mile-per-hour winds, 58.2 miles an hour there to be precise. We do have a 61-mile-per-hour area of wind being detected right now inside the storm that's going to be coming into Port Royal and Parris Island here in the next few minutes. Again, we're also still watching for the potential that we could get some tornadic spin up still in some of these little I'm going to call them kinks for lack of a better word for them. But right now, the main thing we want to continue to focus you in on is this damaging wind threat that does extend for about 60 miles, both north to south and also east to west when we butt it up against its water equivalent, the marine warning that will be impacting anyone who may be offshore. If you're getting any reports, we will certainly take them into us here at the Caroline Weather Group. We can see a lot of your comments and chats that are coming in. You can also tweet those to the Weather Service using hashtag SCWX or hashtag GAWX if you're in Georgia, and they will continue to keep a close eye on this. This entire area, matter of fact, is under the jurisdiction of the National Weather Service out of Charleston, and they're the ones keeping a very close eye on this. We'll have our own Jared Smith back on the line with us in a few minutes. I'm going to go ahead and switch this to reflectivity, show you those heavy rains, zoom out here a bit, and you can kind of see right now elsewhere across the Carolinas as I switch around to some other radar sources. The reason we're able to spend so much time keeping a close eye on this one particular storm is because there's really nothing else on radar throughout the Carolinas. We had a brief heavy shower here during the rush hour in the Charlotte area. That has, for the most part, dissipated off. The severe weather threat today really is off to the very southern tip, essentially from Columbia south in South Carolina, because most of the actual severe weather risk across the nation today, as we zoom on out, is in those portions of the deep south from Arkansas, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, and again, it does include portions of the Georgia and South Carolina areas, including like Augusta, Columbia. I'm going to go ahead and group you into this, as well as Charleston and areas to the south. So I'm not surprised that we are seeing this band of heavy rain right now moving through that greater Savannah, Hilton Head area, because you can kind of see on our severe weather outlook, if I just kind of point these out to you again, this line right here, this green line, that's where the first tier of severe weather risk really comes into play when we think about the categories that the National Weather Service's Storm Prediction Center puts into place. That's a tier 1 out of 5. It's called marginal, and it would include all of this land in the Carolinas on in here. And then we start getting into this yellow line, and that's where we kick into tier 2. This is kind of like a bullseye, if you will. So everything in here is tier 2. And then by the time we get into this orange line, that's where tier 3 kicks in. And so you can see all the way back into portions of Georgia and Alabama, they actually have that red line for tier 4 out of 5. So that's kind of the risk of severe weather that is playing out today across the Carolinas and the deep south. The biggest threats being in Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia, but we are included in that, especially over southern portions of South Carolina, right where we kind of get into that Savannah metro area. That's categorically. If we look at the tornado threat, you can see, again, that hatched area, the hot spot, that bullseye is over southern Alabama and southern Georgia. We do have the risk kind of just marginally for tornadoes sneaking up right on into, yeah, you guessed it, Savannah, Hardeeville, Hilton Head, right where we saw this tornado that seemed to, in fact, have produced a tornado. The National Weather Service will go out and assess the damage to ultimately decide whether it was winds or a tornado that caused it. But that risk for severe winds, now we're looking just at the risk of severe winds. You can see right how that category outlook kind of breaks down, does in fact come right back into that bottom half of South Carolina. It's 8:20. James Brierton here with you from Charlotte, North Carolina. We are tracking a severe thunderstorm That's right, a severe thunderstorm for Beaufort, Charleston, Colleton, and Jasper counties. This is south of downtown Charleston, but does include Folly Beach, Edisto, Beaufort, Hilton Head Island, Savannah, Georgia. And the reason we are continuing to track this storm is because it has a history of producing tornadoes and it has a history of producing damage. Matter of fact, let's see. Do any of these cameras click an image right now? This is the Salty Dog, Hilton Head Island, their South Beach Marina camera, where they are kind of in the thick of this thunderstorm right now, as we are continuing to watch right now. So Hilton Head right on in here. And we can see through some of their webcams there at the famous Salty Dog Cafe. Look at the way the water is just pouring off that roof. Just like sheets of water coming down as we're dealing not only with heavy rain, but also gusty winds. Let's click on a couple more of these, if you will. Looking here again at the South Beach Marina location of the Salty Dog Cafe and Hilton Head Island in South Carolina. You can see kind of the amount of rain and the visibility there as the restaurant goers, the cafe goers have luckily moved inside away from this storm. That is certainly some good news. And we will continue to keep an eye on that. Glad that they were able to have some cameras there. If you were with us a little bit earlier in our live stream, you know we were trying to use the South Carolina DOT cameras right there at the US 278 turnoff. But ever since the storm came rolling through, they went offline. But you can see, this is interesting right here. We are looking at I-95 at mile marker 44. This is the northbound side. So if there's a driver, you've just crossed over in from Georgia into South Carolina, and traffic is at a standstill. So just north of this mile marker 44 camera, around this bend, is mile marker 5 and mile marker 8, where the cameras have gone offline ever since that storm came through. In the moments before we lost the camera, we could see how shaky the camera was getting, how strong the rain was getting, and how difficult of driving conditions there were. And then we lost all visibility remotely into that US 278 turnoff. Well, now looking at I-95 northbound at mile marker 4, this is the traffic that would be heading into what is still essentially a black hole for us. And it is at an absolute standstill. That certainly does not signify good news to me. There is something happening on the interstate north of that Georgia-South Carolina line that is causing the traffic, at least northbound, to come to an absolute stop. And so we will have to wait to find out exactly what that might be. Most of what the Weather Service has heard about so far has been downed trees. They are working to quantify exactly what could have been a tornado versus downed trees. But I will also tell you that right now, if there is some sort of emergency situation ongoing, it doesn't matter to those people who might be impacted or those people who might be trying to get there as first responders to help them, whether the winds were rotating or hitting you as a straight line. What we do know is that I-95 is closed, is not moving. There is something wrong in that mile marker 4+ area as we come towards the US 278. We do have a question from Christopher. He's watching with us right now on YouTube, asking me exactly where the storm may be going as we start to head towards the Bluffton area. And so this is actually a perfect segue. We'll bring in Jared in just a moment. But right now, Christopher, you're kind of in the lull, right? Because if I got my map right, you're kind of in this area. So this first line just came on through for you and is currently impacting areas like Hilton Head off to your east. But we are watching back off to your west, still areas of heavy rain, lightning, and wind. Jared, as I know you are now joining us back at your Carolina Weather Group Charleston studio, I wanted to let you know that we have yet to regain visibility into the cameras at mile marker 5 and 8 on I-95, but this mile marker 4 camera has me worried.
Yeah, I'm just checking for any reports there, but certainly, James, regardless of whether it was spinning or not, a pretty nasty storm came through here. So,
yeah, and I think the Weather Service right now is both continuing to issue warnings, live active warnings, and also trying to vet out what may or may not have transpired with the storms when it came on through. You can see we're starting to get a little movement on this camera.
Yeah.
I would feel a lot more confident about what is going on if we had that mile marker 5 camera back. We don't just yet. And so we'll continue to keep an eye on this. Christopher, thank you so much for watching us on YouTube. Stay safe to you as well out there. And I'll also just let folks know the reason that we're so focused in right now on the Savannah, Hilton Head, Beaufort, Charleston area. This is the only area in the Carolinas right now with thunderstorms, and the only area right now with a severe risk. So Angela and Newburgh, you can sleep sound tonight. This risk is off to our south.
Yeah, you've got a front that's helping to keep you in a little better position there. I want to take my radar up real quick and just kind of give everybody a rundown of where we are. So we do have, again, we have severe thunderstorm warning stretching from around Hollywood, South Carolina to Folly Beach, Seabrook, Edisto, all the way down Hilton Head Island right now, getting the worst of it. And, there's some kinks in the line here as well that we were going to be suspicious of. But the main concern now at this point is straight line damaging winds. So, and again, you don't need a tornado to cause problems. It's very possible that straight line winds may have knocked out that camera or whatever is over the road. It wouldn't shock me if it was a tree. We don't have confirmation of that. We can't see it. It would be nice if we could see it. But it certainly seems either a tree or an accident. I mean, you never really know on I-95.
Yeah, it's hard to know. Neither is good. You were mentioning a minute ago the storm damage, and take a look at this bakery from the Georgia side of things.
Yeah.
Hopefully saying this right. Guyton? G-U-Y.
Yep.
Yeah. So the bakery posting on Facebook 8 minutes ago, does anyone have a chainsaw? I have a tree through my roof and limb through my window. Assistance would be appreciated.
Yeah.
And so that's a perfect example of kind of what real life people are dealing with right now as we're continuing to track this severe thunderstorm. This is a severe thunderstorm. The tornado warning itself has expired, but we're continuing to track it because of its history of producing damage.
Yeah, it's a nasty one. There's no two ways about it. And again, we're starting to see some of that curl back up towards Ravenel and the Charleston metro. Again, we think that the damaging wind threat is going to stay south of downtown, south of West Ashley, but Sea Islands, Folly Beach, Johns Island, James Island, you may be in for a little rough ride here over the next 20 minutes, as it looks like another bow echo is trying to punch through. And we talk about bow echoes, and what's that? What does that mean? Well, that is usually an indicator of some pretty strong winds. And I'll zoom in a little bit more on this so you can see what I'm talking about. You have a very tight gradient. Oh, whoa. Very tight reflectivity gradient here. It looks like there might be a rear inflow jet kind of drying things out a little bit. This is descending dry air punching into the storm, and that could be enhancing the velocities there. We'll go to the velocities, and you can pretty well see that there is again, and when we're looking at velocities on radar, we're looking off the ground. Okay, this is about 1,000 feet up, but certainly very possible that we're getting some of these gusts down to the surface. Now, once this round gets through, there is another round behind it that could have impacts on Hilton Head as well. This looks like it's going to be more of a Georgia issue, and again, it's got some pretty decent shear with it. There, but nothing really organized at this point, and it has a special weather statement on it. They have not gone for the full-blown warning yet, but we'll wait and see to see what that does. But we do have some reports of a tree down at Buckwalter Parkway and Lake Point Drive, so that's going to be that sounds like Bluffton. So, and May River Road at Linden Park Road. So we have a couple trees down now coming in from the Bluffton area. But good old Buckwalter. So that's Bluffton, Hilton Head, those areas there, as this kind of this round of very, very strong wind pushes offshore.
I have a couple of the storm reports to pop up on the screen here. Again, these are still preliminary and early. We don't have them all populated in yet, especially from that Hardyville area. But you can kind of see, as Jared is just explaining, right out of Statesboro in Georgia into Effingham County, Georgia, and then eventually into portions of South Carolina, there is a clear line where some of the damage was occurred either from straight line winds or from a possible tornadoes, because I think one of these reports, if I'm not mistaken, is eventually going to tell us that a storm spotter did in fact see a tornado. And that's essentially why the Weather Service was able to continue to issue that tornado warning thanks to that on the ground report. But a lot of downed trees right now, Jared, as you were just mentioning.
Yeah, and that's going to be, it looks like that's the majority of the damage. At this point, again, the tale will tell itself as time goes on, as we continue to look here. But again, you just keeping this guy in motion here, and you can see that really nasty apex, that formerly tornado warned segment coming offshore right at Parris Island. Formerly tornado warned is the key phrase. Formerly. We don't have.
We just tried to update as many of our YouTube and Facebook titles as we can, but we can't actually. Not all the platforms let us update everything. So, as Jared just mentioned, there's no active tornado warnings right now at 8:30.
Yeah, but certainly when we look at these, when we see the pink show up, it's pretty windy.
Yeah, I know. I was kind of waiting to see if we were going to get those upper tier warnings, right? So like 60-mile-per-hour winds is the base warning, but if we were going to get any sort of significant or catastrophic damage tags associated with these storms that the Weather Service now has the ability to do, we'll find out.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get to that point.
I was wondering, we had a couple pixels while you were driving that were pushing or at 70 miles an hour, and I was like, ooh.
And keep in mind in this area too, you're right next to the radar. I mean, the radar is 20 miles up the road.
Yeah.
In Jasper County. So you're getting a good look near the ground, but that's still 800, 900, 1,000 feet up. And it still requires some of that to transport to the surface. And that's not always a guarantee. But certainly, it's been certainly we've had something transport to the surface because we're seeing these storm reports come in. Just reading the latest stuff here.
I was thinking about going into chat to tell them what we're seeing on DOT cameras, because I know that they are limited on how many screens they can look at simultaneously there at the Weather Service. But you know those guys better than me. Like as they're talking about where there's road closures and accidents, there's still something wrong on I-95.
Yeah, something wrong on I-95, but we don't know what. Something has happened on I-95. We don't know what. So this is a little bit of ground truth here.
Mm-hmm.
So Rachel Smith Shotwell over on Facebook, right off of Parris Island and Shell Point. It was very windy. So ground truth, my friends.
And not to sound sarcastic towards Rachel, I'm going to say
true.
She says very windy, she's underestimating it. It was probably very, very windy.
Very, very windy. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, the radar was definitely lighting up. And again, we don't need just the velocity mode to tell us, how strong the winds can be. We can look at clues in the reflectivity as well. That can kind of show us, again, as we talked about a little earlier, the rear inflow jet. So there's a lot of there's a lot of things that we can do with the radars nowadays, but what it does not replace are reports from the ground, and that is why your comments are so important. Thank you.
Yeah, and so the Weather Service, has told us, as Taylor has pointed out, that there was, as far as we know, a tornado on the ground in Georgia, and I'm like 99% sure that is the case, because it was in the as Taylor's pointing out, we had reports on social, Storm Spotter, in the National Weather Service briefing. I haven't yet seen a picture of one, and maybe you guys have. That would really seal the deal for me. But I have full confidence that between the data we were getting in, both on radar and from people telling us what they were seeing, that does certainly seem to be exactly what transpired.
Yeah, something certainly happened. It wouldn't shock me if a survey crew came down from Charleston into Effingham County tomorrow. That wouldn't surprise me to take a look at what's happening there. But again, as we continue to look at this, I would say, Hilton Head still a lot of heavy rain, but the worst of the wind should be getting offshore at this point. Now we still have that other round to contend with around Rincon, Hardyville, and hold on. Let me look at that. Okay, it looked like it was looked like it was spinning a little bit, but near Rincon, Hardyville, down towards Savannah, now they're going to see a good round of showers and thunderstorms again, not reaching severe limits right now. There's no warning on this. The polygon that's outlining it is a special weather statement. So basically saying, hey, this storm has got some pretty strong winds. A warning could be needed, but heads up, get inside anyway. Meanwhile, looks like the worst of it now. Looks like a lot of the worst weather is now going to be up in Charleston County. So we're looking. We have this very tight reflectivity gradient here near Edisto Beach, and this is approaching Keybrook. It's been a long day.
I'm glad you're here because I know how to pronounce things near Charlotte. You know how to pronounce things over here.
Exactly.
As much as you just stumbled, I'm glad you're here because I know I was saying things wrong before.
All good. But Seabrook, Kiowa, Folly, again, it's important that if you're kind of out and about right now, maybe just take a little diversion inside for a little bit. It doesn't have to, it's not going to be forever. But again, the lightning alone with this is enough to give me pause, much less the wind. And again, we'll go back to the velocity view here, and you can see the very strong velocity signature right now moving through Edisto Beach here. We may, James, we may want to get the Botany Bay weather stem.
I will try. I will try in a moment. Can I point one? I know I'm being a little fixated in the Sign 95 thing, but something else just occurred to me in this photo in this image of the DOT camera that's caught my attention. Some of the truckers are still in the travel lanes. I've just watched a couple truckers pull off to the right shoulder and park it.
Yeah, that's not good.
Here's why I think that's interesting. Because a lot of truckers still carry CB radios, which means they're talking to each other. So they may know more about what's happening than we do. And the fact that they feel like, yeah, I'm just gonna go park it over here tells me it's gonna be a minute.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall in that conversation.
I'm gonna pull up scanners in my ear.
Yeah, do that. We're gonna let me again down in Hilton Head and in Beaufort County, the worst of the weather is exiting the coast. We're now going to be increasingly focused from Edisto to Seabrook to Kiowa to Folly. And again, there is a little apex here, but with that, we'll tilt up in the velocity view, but I'm not really seeing much in the way of near surface rotation, which is good. Hopefully it stays that way. The atmosphere a little further north is a little bit more capped, is just a little bit more inhibited near the surface. And so that one is the reason why there is no weather watch in the Charleston Tri-County area. There's the atmosphere there. There was a special weather balloon release this afternoon, and it showed a big deep pocket of dry air that was capping the atmosphere pretty close to the surface. Obviously
sorry, I was putting my scanners and Hamnet on actual speakers.
Yep. So we'll see, it'll be interesting to see, but I can definitely see that there is a little bit of a twist in this, but that twist is elevated. That twist is aloft. And as long as it's aloft, that's fine. It still could drive some damaging wind gusts into Edisto, Seabrook, and Folly. As long as that spin doesn't start descending, we're good. And again, there's going to be atmospheric issues with that at some point. Looking at the mesoscale analysis there, there's a decent amount of inhibition there as well. So we'll see what happens. We'll keep an eye on this, obviously. But again, heavy rain, lightning, strong gusty winds, the main concerns. No hail with this. It looks like we do have another one of those kind of rear inflow jet situations starting to set up here, and again, so Seabrook, Kiowa, it's about to get gnarly for y'all here in the next 10-15 minutes.
And it probably also worth mentioning that it is Wednesday night. And so if you're new to the Carolina Weather Group at 9:00 each week on the platforms you're watching or listening to us on right now, we do a weekly show about weather science technology. And I think it suffices to say, this is your episode for this week. We won't be stepping aside for any other content. We're going to continue to track this severe weather threat as it continues through the Carolinas for the remainder of this time. I'm taking a listen right now, Jared, in the background to Ham Radio Net, a Skywarn Net, as they, are truthfully and have been for a long time, some of the first eyes and ears on the ground during storms. I'm listening here into that Hardyville area, Jasper County, Beaufort County, to see if we can learn a little bit more about what might be happening on the ground. The other thing I just noticed on the DOT camera is a lightning strike. So we're now getting into that second round of thunderstorms moving into the area. And they may not necessarily have a severe thunderstorm warning associated with them, but you can still have a storm that is producing lightning, and that's going to also hinder, along with the heavy rain that's moving back in now, any sort of operations or cleanup efforts that might be underway, both here on the interstate and elsewhere. I'm showing you an interstate camera because that's the camera that we have access to, but there's certainly other areas that are impacted right now that just aren't located adjacent to a traffic camera.
Yep. We have a warning update. The severe thunderstorm warning has been canceled for Beaufort and Jasper. So anywhere in Beaufort County, anywhere in Jasper County, the threat for severe weather is over. However, you still have plenty of storms to contend with, but the severe tier, 58 miles an hour and higher, that has moved offshore at this point. So you're good to go there. We're going to keep it going, though, for Colleton and Charleston counties until 9:15.
Now, Jared, this is your neck of the woods. I know we're tracking a severe weather outbreak today across the rich deep south. You got another line of storms moving through here. Should viewers in your area expect additional thunderstorms later tonight?
That's a good question. It's been interesting. We've kind of had a wave train coming through, and I've been looking at some of the higher res guidance, and it seems like the storm track is going to be a little bit further south with the next round, at least right now. See how this evolves, but we may not get a third round. Now, getting into tomorrow, we could have another round of thunderstorms, and the severity of those kind of in question there. But some of the upper level energy begins to finally back off a little bit. It's been a rough few days. But right now, I think this is probably going to do it, at least for a little while. I don't see anything upstream. I don't see any signs that anything is going to make a run for us at this point. I'm just on another machine. I'm just just peeking at a few models just to see what the latest here. And the 18Z NAM 3 kilometer is kind of the outlier here. It wants to spurn something up over Georgia, kind of out of thin air, honestly. Not really sure where what all that's doing, but some of the other high res members don't have that. So see how this goes.
Let me take a look at this comment that just came in from Christine, who is on the Georgia side of our viewing area tonight there in Effingham County area. She said her daughter was at a school, I may be pronouncing this wrong, in Rincon. They got the warning. Yep, they got the warning, and about 100 people in the hallway there at the church. The lights went out as the power went out. The floor vibrated from the intensity of the storm, and it sounds like there was, and she continued in the second message, pretty good hail associated with this storm. So
Interesting.
that certainly sounds very scary. We have no tornado warnings in effect right now. That was another question that came into chat, but we did have one earlier, which prompted our streaming to start about an hour ago for the storm that Christine was just describing that went from Georgia into portions of South Carolina. But we've been continuing to stream because of the situation with the severe thunderstorm that at one point produced a tornado and then continued to produce damaging winds. And now we're in the situation where we're still trying to get a sense of what exactly the damage might be that was caused on the ground by this storm. So if you are just joining us here as we approach 8:45, that DOT camera there just near that state line where I think suffice to say those vehicles are not moving and haven't moved in some time, as there appears to have been a line of a damage and impact from the storm as it went through not only Georgia, but into South Carolina, especially near that US 278 I-95 interchange just around the bend from this camera, Jared.
Yep. Yeah. We'll see. It could have been an accident. Could very easily have been an accident. Slick roads and South Carolina drivers don't mix. I can say that as a South Carolina driver. There could be any number of things here. We don't know what's happening there.
Correct.
And so could it be a tree? Yeah.
Could be one of many trees.
Could be one of many trees. There are a lot of trees in this part of I-95. This is it's kind of interesting too, is that, they've done a lot of work, over the last few years to remove the trees from the medians of a lot of the interstates, but they have not done that here. So again, but that's pure speculation. We don't know for sure
Yeah.
what it is.
Let's take a look at this, if I may. If you could pop this up for me, Jared.
Yeah.
This is poweroutage.us that culminates a lot of data from different power companies across the country. And of course, not surprisingly, unfortunately, a lot of power outages right now across the Deep South, where this outbreak has been happening now for several hours. As we come into South Carolina, Jasper County, an estimated number of outages here, about 1,500 people out of their total populated about 13,000. There's obviously, I think, more than 13,000 people in this county, but what it's trying to say is, hey, we've got access to about 13,300 different samples that we can check in with. And of that, 1,500 of them are offline right now. And as we hop back over to look at Effingham County there on the Georgia side. Oh, the map doesn't want to load. It estimated right now about 25% of that county is without power, as we have been dealing with this one cell that we've had the opportunity, Jared, to keep a very close eye on here as the Carolina Weather Group, because this is the storm that's impacting the Carolinas. But as this map alludes to, there's a lot happening right now across the entire Deep South.
Yeah. It's today was an extraordinarily rare day weather-wise. If we can navel gaze here for a second, as we, we'll continue to keep an eye on the threat for strong to severe thunderstorms, primarily now in Charleston County, moving through Seabrook, heading towards Kiowa and Folly Beach. And I may actually hear a little bit of this. I'm not in the polygon, but I may hear the northern part of this here pretty soon, depending on how much sound my in-ears want to leak in. But you may hear it on the air. Who knows? But it was a very rare day. We had a moderate risk in Alabama and the Deep South in June. That doesn't happen. The last time, I want to say Daryl Hersman from Ohio State. Oh my God, from Iowa State. Yeah,
one of those schools we like.
Yeah, the Iowa State Mesonet, the Iowa Environmental Mesonet. He was pulling some of the data that he had, and there hadn't been a moderate risk that touched Alabama in June since 2014.
Wow.
Give you a general idea of just how rare this is. It is a very unusual configuration, but also kind of El Nino-like. And El Nino in the southeast is typically an unsettled, lukewarm, wet setup. It's not like La Nina where things really dry out and get hot. So,
yeah.
So
that's going to be impacting our whole tropical season. If you're making a bingo board at home, El Nino is one of those terms to definitely have on it as we go through the tropic season this year.
Yeah, and sometimes we'll see what happens again. That we have episodes about that, by the way, if you go back and look through the archive here. So again, right now, looking for if you know anybody or anybody seeing anything down over in the Sea Islands of Charleston County, I would be very interested to know. Oh wow. Here we go. I'm going to share another screen here real quick.
Okay.
This is from Dave Williams at WCIV News 4 on their webcam, and that is the shelf cloud. That is a mean shelf cloud.
Yeah, that's the thing of horror movies.
Yeah, that is a mean shelf cloud, my friend. And
I want to remind people, if you've been with us for more than an hour, you saw me tracing on radar earlier with the straight line winds, that wall that was emanating on radar. That's it. What Jared just showed you is the real. Yeah, I can show you reds and greens remotely on radar, but on the beach, what you're seeing is that mothership thing that he just showed you. That is like straight out of an apocalyptic movie.
Yeah, and again, that's again, that's not a wow. I mean, the time of day helps with that too.
Sure.
But
it's about 8:50 here. James Brierton, I'm in Charlotte. That's Jared Smith in Charleston. He is our regional guy here in the Carolina Weather Group. If you're just discovering us during the severe weather outbreak, we hope you like, subscribe, and follow wherever you may be watching us. Stick around. We try to do severe weather update coverage like this as often as we can, but we do religiously every Wednesday drop a new video podcast talking about weather, science, technology, and more from the Carolinas and beyond. You can also listen to us on platforms like Spotify if you want to listen to it in the car while you drive. In lieu of a weekly discussion topical show, well, I guess actually we're being very topical. We are tracking live storms with you tonight on our YouTube, Facebook, and elsewhere. So hello and thanks to wherever you may be watching us from here today. And you know what, Jared? I also wanted to say a shout out. I hope he's watching right now. We got a new patron today over at patreon.com/Carolina Weather Group. Shout out to Steve Holmes, who has joined our rank of supporters.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. And we all appreciate it. It helps us do what we do. And it's how we're able to get, how we're able to do green screens and and all that stuff, and all that good stuff. So what we're going to do here is again, we're kind of continuing to keep an eye on I-95 apocalypse here. Whatever has happened here, there's really not much movement. Still have a lot of those trucks there again. And again, we don't know what's happened here. It could very easily have been a bad driver or a tree. It's hard to say, but right now, strong winds coming through Seabrook Island, headed towards Kiowa and Folly Beach. A brief round of heavy rain and maybe some wind gusts that could bring some trees down. Again, severe thunderstorm warning goes until 9:15. We are also seeing marine warnings go out, which is to be expected from that for the mariners out there. If you're on a boat watching us, marine warnings are going out across the Charleston County coast. We've heard some thunder from this. I'm over here in West Ashley. We've heard some thunder from this, but it looks like, and there's, and this is certainly, there looks like there is a little bit of elevated spin with this, but right now there is no concern. There's no real concern for any tornadic activity here. This is purely a kind of an elevated spin. It might be, maybe the start of a like a meso-low or something like that. But it is not tornadic. It is not reaching the ground, but it is very likely driving some strong winds moving through Seabrook and Kiowa right now. And Folly Beach, you are next in line for that. So that's going to be something that we're going to keep an eye on here as time goes on. But again, right now, I think the good news is that, when we kind of zoom out here, there's no tornado warnings in effect. Looks like Hilton Head is about to take another round of showers and thunderstorms, although not as intense as the previous ones by any stretch. They stretch off of Tybee, going through Richmond Hill and getting offshore. And then behind that, it gets the picture gets a little bit more muddy. It looks like the worst of the severe weather is now going to be translating south of the Carolinas based on model guidance and just generally speaking, the fact that this is kind of shifted some of that more unstable air, kind of pushed it further south. That is a good lightning strike over there on near exit 8 right there on I-95. People at least being treated to a light show on the interstate as they wait. But we do have some lightning moving through here in Charleston metro area and some moderate rain. But again, nothing we can't handle. The only issue right now remains this severe thunderstorm warning that goes until 9:15. And again, we'll see how long this ultimately goes. There is evidence still of very strong gusty winds on the leading edge of this, maybe a rear inflow jet. And basically what that is dry air descending into the storm. And that dry air is dense. It is very dense. It's much denser than warmer air. And so it has a tendency to want to sink and sink quickly. And so that is, those are one of the signatures that is probably continuing the warning. That is why they continue the warning. And then to this point, again, we came on here because of the potential for what may have been a tornado back in Georgia that could have lasted. We're not sure yet, honestly. I think it's going to, but there was certainly the potential for tornado in Georgia. Then that warning got extended into the Carolinas. Right now, I don't have any reports of any tornado damage in South Carolina, but certainly something may have happened in Georgia, and the Weather Service is very likely going to have to take a peek at that with the survey teams here in the next couple days. So we'll keep an eye on that as time goes on. Just looking for updates, looking for anything here, and so far so good. But again, right now, Let me. I'm going to look at another machine actually, and I'm going to pull up the wind alert. So if what we're going to do is I'm going to pull up the weather flow stations here, which don't seem to be showing too much right now. I'm actually kind of surprised by that. But I got another monitor over here. I got a lot of monitors, but got another monitor over here that's going to have the weather flow station, the weather flow station map, and those are usually updated pretty much in real time, and they'll tell us kind of what the wind gust situation is looking like as this goes to Folly Beach. So we're going to keep an eye on that on another machine here. We're going to stay with the radar here for a minute. I'm going to stay with you through the end of this severe thunderstorm warning. Once the severe thunderstorm warning ends, we'll go ahead and call our coverage. And yes, it is a Pitching Ninja t-shirt. Yes. So yeah, that's a fantastic, good eye there. Yes, it is a Pitching Ninja t-shirt. I absolutely adore Pitching Ninja. So, so there you go. Rockville, Seabrook, it looks like the worst of it has moved past. Again, a very brief round of heavy rain as this pushes through. Folly Beach, really the kind of the last of it here. No indication that they're going to extend the severe thunderstorm warning for land areas further northwest. Don't think that is going to be a thing. We'll have to keep an eye on that, though. I mean, we'll see, this kind of little mezzo low thing that just moved through Hollywood and is headed over Johns Island now. We'll have to see what that does, and I'll be interested to know what people are seeing there. But so if you know anybody there and they're seeing something weird, please let us know, because that would be helpful. We can relay those messages back to the Weather Service as well, which is also always a super handy thing for them to have as they continue to work on the warning decisions. But again, the only land-based warning right now in South Carolina, really in the Carolinas, is this severe thunderstorm warning. That'll go for another about 18 minutes or so, unless it's canceled early, which is possible. This is moving at a pretty good clip. We could get that out of here, and then that may be it. Notice the deep orange polygons here are special marine warnings, and yeah, you don't want to be out on a boat. We'll just leave it at that. Not a great day to go on a boat. Not a great evening to go on a boat. So again, just keeping an eye on the stations here, and the details here. If Folly Beach is going to light up, it's going to do it pretty soon with the wind. And I'm looking at some stations. I'm trying to look at some stations that were around Kiowa. It didn't seem like they took. Looking at some of the other weather stations that were in the area, it doesn't look like the winds got too terribly high. So that is, that's certainly promising. That might have been a 60-mile-an-hour gust at Sandy Creek Road, though. That's near Edisto. There may have been a 60-mile-an-hour gust near Edisto. Not sure. I'm not sure how well that station is sighted, but certainly something that caught my eye there. And again, just doing a little analysis here. And again, Folly right now looking okay. Let's let me see if we can get see if I can get the real time going here. Keep an eye on that. But right now, the risk for severe is just about there. Now, what's going to happen later? Again, model guidance kind of telling two stories here. We have one set of guidance that wants to kick up another round of thunderstorms overnight, bring it eastward, but other kind of more rapidly updating high-res guidance is a little less excited about that. Keeps things dry for the rest of the night. At this point, I would have to say that I favor the solution that keeps things dry for the rest of the night, just as how well the atmosphere is overturned here. But we'll see if there's any recovery. There is some upstream instability there, but again, looking at kind of the mesoscale forecast here, it's just that I'm having a hard time seeing more storms fire at this point tonight. So we'll keep an eye on it. And again, we have we're getting storm reports in. See if I can't pull a couple of those up here. Yep. Little thunder. Little thunder there. Not seeing the storm reports load yet, but there have been some storm reports coming in. Bluffton, many trees down in Bluffton there, and so that'll be. Sounds like they had a pretty good storm. May not have been tornadic. Doesn't really matter. Um, in that sense. So again, we're seeing this this apex of this move through Johns and James Island. Might clip the south of downtown briefly here. It could have a brief round of heavy rain, not enough to cause a big flooding issue, but still could get really gusty here. And we're gonna go back to and on the other machine as I kind of dual wheeled here with 2 mice, no less. We're going to take another look. I'm going to take another look at the Folly South End station, and the max wind gust it has is 14 miles an hour. That may change here shortly after this line gets through. I'd be interested to see what that turns up, but right now, not seeing anything that's too out of the ordinary, which is good news. So again, we've got this guy here, and again we're here. I mean, we're here because there may have been a tornado back in Georgia that could have hopped the state line. We don't know that for sure, and we're not going to know anything about that for real until the Weather Service does the survey. This did at one point. This line at one point had a what's called a split S signature that is really something that we would look for. I mean, that's not something we see terribly often at this point in the year. Again, this severe weather outbreak that we've been seeing across the Deep South, extraordinarily rare for this point in June. Really, for June in general, we don't the jet stream and the subtropical jet. All of that is a lot of the jet dynamics are further north at this point. Your corridor for severe weather is typically. I mean, this is the time of year where we have storm chasers in Canada. But maybe because of El Nino, possibly could be a factor there. Let's see here. That may have changed. So switch with the incident ahead. Mile marker 5, all lanes blocked. Okay, so they're calling it an incident, which leads me to believe it's a crash. But that is why I-95 at exit 8 is still kind of stalled out. And I think this is mile marker 4. Okay, so this is mile marker 4 now. So very near. Yeah. So this is looking north from mile marker 4, and you can see the, yeah. So anyway, so the sign here is updated to say that there was an incident mile marker 5. So see what that looks like. Again, not sure if that's weather related. It would not shock me if it was just people driving on slick roads related. That absolutely could be a possibility. And the fact that has been stopped that long is certainly concerning. And hopefully, if it is something like that, I hope everybody's okay. I don't have any new updates to share from the Weather Service just yet. We're continuing this severe thunderstorm warning here till 9:15. We have the line of storms coming through Folly Beach right now. Trying to get some additional data here. Last update I got was from 8:58. I wonder if there's maybe I can get something newer here. Okay, that's a little more like it. So we've had a gust of 27 miles an hour at Folly at 9:03. But again, that's the severe criteria is 58. So give you a general idea of that. And again, that kind of lends some credence to the fact that these storms have elevated a little bit. Okay, so thank you to Rachel here. Another down power lines at exit 5. Okay, cool. Well, if maybe that's the incident. That wouldn't shock me. And that actually corresponds quite nicely with the fact that we lost those webcams down there. And right now it's pouring on Maybank. Yeah, coming onto James Island, and yeah, definitely certainly seems that way. And again, please be careful. Please be careful driving out there. So let's so again we have a pretty decent round of storms about to move into the Charleston metro here, just very briefly here. And again, this is going to head towards, looks like this is going to clip downtown Charleston, looks like this is going to head into Mount Pleasant, Isle of Palm, Sullivan's. You probably want to be on guard. Again, does not look like we're going to see a continuation of the severe thunderstorm warning further northeast. not seeing any indications that that is going to be a thing. And if anything, I would expect here shortly that we will probably get rid of this severe thunderstorm warning. So we can hope that that would be a nice outcome there for sure. And yeah, I wouldn't I wouldn't hate it. Let me just put it that way. We don't want to see that kind of. I just don't want to have that kind of problem there. All right, so let me just dual wielding once again. You see that there, and you'll notice that there is that little twist to it, but again, that is going to be kind of a more elevated setup. There's no rotation near the ground. That's the thing that we would look for. We're looking for rotation near the ground if we're concerned about tornadoes, and this is about 3,500 feet up, and so we're getting more into the mid levels of the storm, and it's pretty weak when we take the forward motion out of the velocity data. We can see just where the individual areas of spin are, and that's really broad and probably to be expected at this point, honestly, with this kind of setup here. So continuing to monitor for updates here. In the meantime, let's go to let me go to that. That and that. Oh, that's interesting. And that. All right, I'm gonna switch the view here a little bit. Hopefully that works. It's not looking good though. That is not looking good, my friends. It's the wrong camera, it's the wrong everything. So I think we're just not gonna do that. So set that up later. We have some lightning strikes now getting into downtown Charleston. Again, this is going to be a pretty quick round of rain. Not terribly concerned right now about any flooding issues there. And so we're going to try and get the College of Charleston camera up here in a second to get a look at this. Should have a good look at it, and especially as it exits. Probably going to see nothing on the College of Charleston camera, to be completely honest. There. So swap this for a second here. I'm going to send a tweet over on the Twitter. But you can see, still looking at mile marker 4, potential power lines down possibly. So we'll try and figure out if that sounds like it would make sense, though. It certainly sounds like it would make sense. And then here is the College of Charleston. Here's the College of Charleston camera. Pull that in here. And oh, that's interesting. Oh, okay. So he's working on it right now. I pulled it in way too soon. It's fine. But yeah, right now, kind of calm, honestly. We'll keep it on this view because I suspect that's about to change. So I suspect that is about to change. So we'll keep an eye on that. That's going to be a good looking view here from the College of Charleston. This is looking northeast towards the Ravenel Bridge too, towards St. Matthew's Church. You can see the Ravenel Bridge kind of in the middle there. So yeah, we'll see. Let's see what we can see here in the next few minutes as this brief round of heavy rain moves in across the area. And again, I can't talk and type at the same time, so give me just a second here. So again, at this point, I know they're probably working on a lot of storm reports at this point at the Weather Service, and I can understand why. I can definitely understand that. So again, we do still have the severe thunderstorm warning out for Kiowa, Seabrook, and Folly. However, the worst of the weather has now moved to the north and east of those areas. So at this point, Kiowa, Folly Beach, you are probably going to be looking a little bit better here. Looks like we had a gust to about 26. So that's not, and again, that line came right over Folly South End. So not the highest we've seen by any stretch of the imagination at that site. So that's not bad. You can see the lightning there. Gust to 30 miles an hour in the harbor. at the Chutes Folly Station, gust of 22 miles an hour at Fort Sumter. That line is moving through right now. And yeah, so this continues to just spin through here. We'll go ahead and I'll put this in the corner. Let me swap that back in. We want to show you, and almost immediately you can barely see the Ravenel. It looks like this is coming over right now, and yeah, you can see the lightning picking up. You can certainly see that this is a much rainier image than it was even maybe 20 seconds ago. The Ravenel is gone. Can't see it anymore, so that's how heavy this rain is, and we're starting to have trouble even seeing in front of us. So yeah, there you go. I mean, that's how this goes. And again, that brief round of heavy rain will move through, and then it'll get out of here. We'll have some light to moderate rain behind it. So we'll just hang out and watch. Just watch it rain on TV. Sure, why not? Yeah, we got nothing better to do on a Wednesday night, hanging out with me, the Carolina Weather Group. And if this is your first time watching us, we're a podcast that does science and technology and weather and all sorts of stuff through the Carolinas and really beyond too. We don't just limit our scope here to the Carolinas. We focus on it, certainly. This is where we live. This is this is where we live. This is where we have families, things like that. But certainly, all sorts of weather and science, a big thing here. I'm Jared Smith with Carolina Weather Group. I'm down in Charleston right now. Not there in Charleston, but further west, that is. And it does not look like that behind me. That is for sure. It does not look like that. It is definitely looking very rainy in downtown Charleston as we watch this view. Still no DOT cameras from mile marker 4, I believe. So yes, or let me see, the 5 or 8 rather. So some sort of incident, possibly down power lines. So we'll have to see there. But yeah, this kind of this apex of this is moving through downtown right now. Some very heavy rain. Again, it's going to be brief. We should see this become a little bit more clear before too long. There's some moderate rain behind it, and we're going to keep that around here for a little bit yet. You see the radar in the corner there. I want to keep it on the real stuff. And then we have some drying taking place now, moving very quickly in. So we're not going to be in the rain for too much longer, it looks like. And that's good because we don't want to deal with any more. We don't want to deal with flooding. So I'm very happy to see any heavy rain like this depart. Still checking winds, wind gusts, things like that. I'm not seeing anything that's really egregious here or anything that would lead to the severe thunderstorm warning continuing further northeast. And in fact, the Weather Service will allow the severe thunderstorm warning for Folly Beach to expire at 9:15. So that is going to expire, that severe thunderstorm warning, which is good news. And then that's it. That's it for land-based warnings across the Carolinas. North Carolina, nothing there. And that was the only game in town in South Carolina. And that too has now that too has kind of gone by the wayside. So all good news there. And you can see it's still raining downtown. What I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to a kind of a regional view here. And I kind of want to show you the situation that we're finding in the deep south here. This is rather remarkable for this point in the year, and there's actually the concern that there could be a derecho moving across Mississippi and Alabama overnight. So let's switch to that, and let me resize that real quick. There we go. Nope, that was not what I wanted it to do. There we go. All right, cool. So you can see, I mean, there's a lot of color here. I'm actually going to take the satellite off. But numerous severe thunderstorm and even a couple tornado watches still. I suspect that we're going to see some of the tornado watches get trimmed back here before too long. But yeah, we have numerous watches stretching from Dallas, Texas up through Little Rock, Jackson, Mississippi, where there's a considerable tag on severe thunderstorm going through there right now. zoom in on that a little bit, and I just realized that I didn't have the right thing showing up in the full screen. So here you go. This is a little more like it. But yeah, some very strong cells, Greenville, Mississippi, Jackson, Meridian, just this train of storms that continues to fire up and move across the deep south. It has been kind of remarkable, honestly. Take a look at the 500 millibar, and there's your little shortwave trough right there. Another little shortwave trough that's helping to drive some of this very turbulent flow through here. This is quite unusual for this point in the year. You can see that very deep convection on the water vapor image here. This very, very, very deep convection. And you can see there's another little swirl right there. Let's see if I can back that up a little bit, and you can see the, let's see. Interesting. Yeah, there's a little shortwave right there. That's kind of wild, huh? Set that into motion there and move that out of the way. Set that into motion. You can see that's that shortwave trough is causing a lot of problems, as you can see, helping to drive those showers and thunderstorms there. So again, we have some just anomalous, just really anomalous weather for this point in the year. We usually are used to this in more like June versus the other way around. All right. So taking a look back at the radar here again, we have some heavy rain moving through. Looks like it's just about left downtown Charleston, now getting into the East Cooper bit. You can see that lightning. You can see that lightning firing up there. So yeah, a good bit of lightning moving through there. You could see that on the College of Charleston webcam that's down here, and we're also watching a DOT camera there. But at this point, I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and wind this down. The threat for severe weather is kind of tapered off for the immediate time being, and really not looking like we're going to see too much more tonight. I think we're probably going to be okay. And again, if that changes, we'll let you know. But again, the severe weather threat is ending. We are seeing the strongest winds move offshore. Again, we have some marine warnings out, but land-based warnings, there are none in the Carolinas at this point. And this is coming to an end. So again, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Hopefully a quieter day tomorrow, put it mildly, but it's kind of a low bar to cross, but then again, you never know. One last question before we go. We did have a question if there was any hail with the storm, and it does not look like there's any hail going on right now with this, and just some heavy rain. And this again is moving out very quickly now offshore, and is no longer posing a threat. And really, it certainly seems like that this is even a lot of the rain will be coming to an end here relatively soon. So I think that's going to do it for us. And again, we'll update Twitter as things change, and as we learn new things about what has transpired today. But again, I think at this point, I think we're going to be reasonably okay. We do have a question: is Barnwell going to be affected overnight? I don't think so. It does not look that way. So I think we will be okay overnight. So that's good news. Some model guidance wants to spur some things up there, but I just don't see it happening. I'm not really buying into that too much. It's certainly seems to be the outlier solution. So I think we're gonna be okay in Barnwell. But for Scotty Powell to help kick us off tonight, James Brierton up in Charlotte. I'm Jared Smith here in Charleston, and thank you for watching this impromptu severe weather coverage edition of the Carolina Weather Group. And we will see you next time, hopefully under slightly better circumstances.